David Bullock, Davy Little Mine Camp Boy.
When I was 4 years old, my mom took to put me in a bright red shirt so she could more easily find me, because once I got outdoors, I was always getting into mischief. Well, this one day, I had started climbing up this huge tree in our front yard. That tree was so big it went all the way from the ground clear on up into the sky. And there I was, easily climbing that tree, when my mother came out of the house, and she immediately saw me and began screaming at me to get out of that tree, warning me that I might fall and break my bum. Well, I was so mad because I had a goal, what I was going to do when I climbed up on this branch. And I was so mad that I remembered when my dad got mad, he always used this special word. And when I thought of that special word, it just came sliding right out of my mouth. I didn't know it was a naughty word, a swear word. And my mother grabbed her chest with both hands and fainted right there on the porch. Well, I'd seen my mother faint a few times in the past. I was worried, so I didn't know how to get down out of that tree. I just jumped. I bet I fell at least that far. Well, I ran over to my mom, screaming, "Mommy, Mommy, Mommy!" Well, my dad was in the house. He heard me. He came out, and he's like, "Oh, dear, what can the matter be?" He got down and started fanning her face with his hand, and then she woke up, and she gave a look at him like would melt frozen butter. And then she stuck her finger in his nose. Well, not in his nose, but on his nose, and she gave him a tongue lashing for teaching her innocent little son to say a naughty word. And she said, "You must be punished." Well, you know what they did to me? They didn't make me stand in the corner for 10 minutes. They didn't paddle my bottom. They made me go to work with my dad. Yes! I was so excited. My dad was a miner. He worked up in the mountains where there's lions and bears and dinosaurs. I was so excited. So when we finally turned off the road in his Willie's Jeep, Dad wound up the mountain towards the mine, and he pulled out in front of this little one-room shack. And from out of that shack came the biggest woman I have ever seen. She was so big it took her 3 steps to get through the door. She'd take one step into the frame of the door, another step to stand up straight, and then she'd blow out all her air. And then walk right out of that door. Well, she came down. I was so scared. She was funny looking. She had thin white hair that stuck straight up on top of her head, and she had her lower lip over her nose. And the only reason she could do that is she didn't have any teeth. And so her jaw was clear up there. She had her lower lip over her nose. And Daddy! And Dad says, "Oh, Dave, don't be so scared. That's Esther King. She's a good woman. She'll take good care of you." So Dad told me he had a meeting with the miners. "You go on in the cabin, and Esther will whip up some pancakes for us. We'll have breakfast." Well, Esther, she made all the fixings, and she put all the stuff in a bowl, and she held that bowl underneath her ample breast, and she started whipping that, and she started talking to me. And that's when I realized why Esther always kept her lower lip over her nose. See, Esther had allergies, and as she was talking, her nose was running, and it dripped down off of her chin into the pancake batter. Ew, that's exactly what I said. I ran outside of that cabin looking for my daddy. "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy!" He was over there with the miners going, "Daddy, Esther's nose." "Davy, we're having a meeting. Don't bother. Davy, go away." Whew. That made me mad, but I didn't say that word. I picked up a great big rock, and I walked over to the chicken coop. I was going to throw that rock at that big red rooster that had chased me around, pecking at my bottom. But when I did, there was this big deer, horns sticking all the way up to there. And I said, you better look out, Mr. Deer, because I'm going to throw this rock and hit you in the bum. And he just looked at me like, oh, go away, little man. So I threw the rock, and I did. I hit him right in the backside. He jumps up in the air, turns around, comes down, and lands staring right at me. Well, I turned around, I ran into the cabin, I said, Esther, Esther, there's a big deer out there, and he's going to kill me. And she grabbed up a rifle, walked out that door, and boom! Scared me so bad. Well, a few minutes later, I walk out and I see this big rug on the chicken coop, and I asked her, what's that? And she said, oh, Davy, you scared that deer so bad you plumb scared it right out of its hide. And then I said, and my daddy says, Esther, I don't know what it is about these pancakes. These are the best pancakes I've ever eaten. They're so sweet. What is your secret? And I said, I know what Esther's secret is. And they all looked at me and said, what? I said, Esther's nose was leaking in the pancake batter. Well, there was mouths quit chewing. Some were going up, some were going down. And all of a sudden I heard voices like, well, I better be going now. I better go get back to work. And all the men got up from the table and left. And Esther was so embarrassed. And my daddy says, you hurt Esther's feelings, Davy. You need to apologize to her. And so I walked up to Esther, I looked at her and said, Esther, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings by sharing your secret recipe. And she grabbed a hold of me, picked me up, gave me the biggest squeezy hug. All the stars were coming out and spinning around. And then she put me down and she says, oh, Davy, that's all right. But nobody's ever going to eat my pancakes anymore. I guess from now on, we're just going to have to eat waffles.